You know, I still get chills thinking about that night when those HOA goons pulled guns on my wife Jamie right in our driveway over something as stupid as a parking spot, yeah? They had no clue she was a former Green Beret who'd spent years teaching close-quarters combat. And let's just say, it didn't end well for them. It was like a scene straight out of a bad thriller, the kind where the bad guys think they've got the upper hand until everything flips. But to really understand how we got there, I gotta rewind a bit, back to when it all started with this little garden gnome named Reginald that we plopped in our front yard harmless, right? But apparently, in Whispering Pines, that was enough to kick off a neighborhood war that changed everything. We'd moved to Whispering Pines about a year earlier, this quiet suburban spot in the Midwest with big yards and tall trees that whispered in the wind. You know, the kind of place where you imagine raising kids or just chilling with a book on the porch. I'm Alex, a freelance writer who loves nothing more than sarcasm and a good plot twist in my stories. And Jamie, well, she's the tough one ex-Special Forces, now running self-defense classes for women, always talking about needing space to decompress after all those high-stakes missions. We escaped the city chaos for this piece, a patch of grass, and yeah, reliable parking without circling blocks like vultures. Met her in a dusty old bookstore, bonding over spy novels and bad coffee. She laughed at my dumb jokes, and that was it, hooked for life. The neighborhood seemed perfect at first, under the old HOA president. This chill guy named Tom, who'd waive fines if you baked him cookies, but then Susan took over. This power-hungry type with a clipboard and a glare that could curdle milk, turning the whole place into her personal fiefdom with rules on everything from paint colors to how high your grass could grow. It started small, that first fine slipping under our door like a whisper of trouble, $25 for violating aesthetic standards, with Reginald the gnome, complete with a grainy photo like they'd staked us out. Jamie saw it as a probe, testing our boundaries, and me? I figured it was just petty bureaucracy, but deep down, it irked me why couldn't we have a quirky little statue watching over our flowers? We paid the fine, sure, but left Reginald right where he was, drawing that line in the sand. I even scribbled for the Gnome Fund on the check memo, waving cheerily at Susan's window where I knew she was peeking through the blinds, her face twisting like she'd swallowed a lemon. Little did we know, that was the spark, not just some control freak's ego trip, but the beginning of something darker, rooted in greed and old grudges that would tear at the fabric of our little community. Things escalated quick after that, like a slow burn turning into a wildfire one morning. Our prize rose bushes, the ones Jamie nurtured like they were her babies, wilted and died overnight, poisoned with some cheap weed killer. And get this, they left the empty bottle right there as a taunt, like saying, "We can touch what you love." Then came the compliance patrol, these two knuckleheads, Mike and Joe, hired by Susan to roam the streets in their golf cart, enforcing rules with accidents, like when they accidentally backed into our neighbor Larry's bird feeder, smashing it to bits while he watched helplessly from his porch. Packages started vanishing from our stoop, caught on our doorbell cam with Mike's blurry figure snatching one. But when we called the cops, they shrugged it off as a civil matter, no big deal. It wasn't just us. The whole neighborhood felt it, constant eyes on you. Fines stacking up like death by 1,000 paper cuts, whispers in driveways about families packing up and selling cheap just to escape the harassment. Larry, this retired vet down the street, turned into a paranoid mess, muttering about informants and boarding up his windows. 2 families bolted within months, their homes snapped up quick by some shadowy real estate group. We hardened up, installing security cams everywhere, no more plausible deniability for these clowns. And every time Susan drove by, staring daggers, I'd wave with exaggerated cheer, thinking, bring it on. But inside, it was wearing us down. Jamie, usually so unflappable, would pace at night, her military instincts kicking in, saying this felt like psychological warfare, breaking spirits to win without a fight. The tension built, turning Whispering Pines from a haven into a ghost town of fear, and that's when Larry, bless his jittery soul, dropped the bomb after digging through public records late one night. Turns out, those quick sales weren't random. 6 homes funneled to Pine Ridge Holdings. A shell company popped up right after Susan's election, and suddenly, it clicked. This wasn't just her lording over paint swatches for kicks, but a calculated land grab, driving values down with terror tactics so her backers could buy low and flip for big bucks. maybe a strip mall or condos swallowing our quiet streets. Why? Greed, plain and simple, mixed with Susan's resentment from her own failed real estate dreams, twisted into this scheme to play queen while cashing in. For me, it shifted everything from annoying neighbor spat to defending our home against corporate vultures and Jamie. She saw red, refusing to sell out, whispering one night as we stared at the ceiling, "Alex, this is our ground. We fight, or we lose more than a house." We decided to flip the script, go on the offensive, no more reacting like sitting ducks. The plan was sneaky, using our edges, my writer's knack for deception, her spec ops skills for the dirty work. I surrendered at the next HOA meeting, standing up in that stuffy community hall with Susan smirking from her throne-like chair, saying all humble-like, "Look, Susan, we've had our differences, but you're right, Reginald's gotta go. Let's bury the hatchet." She ate it up, her eyes gleaming with victory as she patted my shoulder, cooing, "See? Compliance makes everyone happy." But while I distracted, Jamie slipped out, planting a bug and GPS tracker in their patrol cart, heart pounding as she ducked shadows. It almost went south when Mike spotted her, chasing through the woods yelling, "Hey, stop, you trespassing bitch." But Jamie, cool as ice, spun and disarmed him with a swift elbow to the gut, vanishing before he could ID her, leaving him groaning in the dirt. The bug paid off, big recordings of Susan hissing into her phone. "Boss," the writers folding. "Accelerate the timeline, hit the holdouts hard." And the boss? A man's voice, gravelly and familiar, "Mr. Harlan, wait." No, it hit me like a gut punch. That was my estranged brother, Robert, the one I'd cut ties with years ago over our parents' inheritance, him claiming I stole his share when really, he'd blown it all on bad deals. Revenge, pure and spiteful, he wasn't just grabbing land. He wanted our lot specifically, to raise the neighborhood for his dream megamansion, rubbing my face in it. The recordings got darker. Orders to trash Larry's place, then arson on ours, burn it enough to hurt. Send the message, Susan laughing. They'll run screaming. We couldn't use the illegal taps in court, so we needed clean proof, set traps around the house, trip wires, strobe lights, even a foam system to douse any flames, warned Larry to bail for the night, logged our suspicions with the sheriff. They came at 2:13 a.m., Mike and Joe creeping with gas cans, whispering harshly, "Light it up quick. Boss wants M," scared shitless. But bam, garage door slams shut behind them, strobes blinding, my voice booming over the PA, "Smile, assholes. You're on candid camera." They panicked, spilling gas, firing wild shots that pinged off metal. Then Jamie struck, bursting in with her non-lethal shockwave device, zapping Mike mid-swing as he snarled, "Who the hell are you?" She flipped him over her shoulder, knee to his throat, hissing back, "Your worst nightmare, buddy." Joe lunged, gun raised, "Back off, lady." But she disarmed him in a blur, foam erupting to smother the spill, leaving them coughing and cuffed with zip ties. Susan showed up, pounding the door, screeching, "What have you done? This is my neighborhood." Just as sirens wailed, cops swarming based on our tip and the gunfire reports. Cameras caught it all. The cans, the break-in, their faces clear as day. We handed over a thumb drive videos, records linking to Robert's company, and the dominoes fell. The goons flipped first, spilling about the scheme. Susan cracked under pressure, sobbing in interrogation. It was all for the payout. He promised me a cut. Robert got nabbed at his fancy office, charges stacking, conspiracy, attempted arson, even domestic terrorism for the threats. Motive? His twisted grudge. Our folks left me the family home because he was the screw-up, and now he wanted to bulldoze my life for his ego trip. Whispering Pines healed after that HOA dissolved. Folks throwing block parties again. Kids playing without fear. We replanted those roses, Reginald back on guard, and life felt serene, you know? But here's the thing that still nags at me, was Robert always this monster? Or did that inheritance fight twist him? And Susan, was she just a pawn? Or did her own bitterness make her complicit? Justice hit hard, but it makes you wonder about grudges festering in families, in communities. How far is too far to fight back? What do you think, was our trap overkill, or fair game against bullies like that? Drop a comment below. Share if you've dealt with HOA nightmares or family feuds gone wrong. Hit subscribe if you want more real-life twists, and let's chat about where the line is between defense and revenge. Thanks for listening. Stay vigilant out there.